there, and welcome to my backyard. So I figured today would be a good time to do a video all about what I learned in my first year of owning chickens. Since it is coming into spring and a lot of people are going to start getting chickens, especially for the first time, there's a lot to learn. And I would say that I have learned a lot. I did all of the research ahead of time, but I still learned so much in that first year of actually owning chickens. So if chickens are your thing, or if chickens are completely new to you, stick around and I will tell you everything that I have learned so far. Oh, Elsa, you want to come sit with me? Come here. Elsa decided she wanted to come join. So first, I would say do as much research as you can, but also go into it knowing that you are not going to know everything, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to learn from actually owning chickens. There were so many things that I thought whenever we went into it, I knew everything that there was to know about owning chickens, and then we got them, and it was just, there was so much. I was shocked. Especially when it comes to actually caring for them. I feel like that's just whenever you own any kind of new animal, there's a learning curve, and you can do all the research that you want, but there's still going to be some things that you're just going to have to jump in and do it and learn as you go. The second thing would be that you don't need a super expensive setup. Is it nice? Sure, but in order to get started with chickens, you really don't need the $1,000 coop that you see on Instagram. I'm actually going to cut now to a clip of what our coop setup is, so you can see how you can do it. I think we maybe spent $100, $200 just from scraps and things that we got from friends. So this is the chicken coop that my husband built out. We currently have it wrapped in a tarp still because of the winter. It's how we winterized our coop. We live in southeast Texas, and so it doesn't get super cold, so we don't have to go through extreme measures to winterize our coop, but in the summer it gets really, really hot. And so underneath this tarp, let me go inside and show you. So you can see it's all chicken wire and hardware cloth. So the whole coop is chicken wire and hardware cloth, and it's right up on the house. It gets pretty nasty in here. It's because it's where the chickens live. So we have this used to be a table that we have cut in half, and it is now serves as kind of a step for them. It gets, like I said, pretty nasty. I just go in and scrape it off to keep it clean. I just did it yesterday and it's already nasty again. And then we have their food and their water hung up in here. We have this gate that we have rigged to keep the dog out. Dogs will eat chicken eggs. And then we had all of the nesting boxes up here, stacked up here, but they actually don't prefer to lay in the coop. They have picked a different spot, so we put a nesting box out there. So some of them will lay up here. So we have this nesting box that we created. My husband cut out some milk crate, and we put down some turf grass in there, and then one under there because some of the chickens will lay up underneath there. But it's a very simple setup. All of the wood, most of the wood is scrap wood that we found. So you can see it's nothing super fancy. It's just a chicken coop. It actually is big enough. It's sized to where it could hold up to, I think, 25 birds, possibly even more. Our chickens do not stay in there. They roam throughout the yard pretty much all day, and then they just go in the coop at night. So as you can see, it doesn't need to be super fancy. It just needs to hold the chickens in and keep the predators out, keep them dry, and then make sure to know what is necessary for your climate. Number 3, chickens can be pretty fragile. So a lot of times chickens will just get sick or they will just die. A lot of times you will bring home a bunch of chicks and some of them just won't make it. And I know people who have never had this happen, but I've known more people that this happens all too often. Something just happens and they don't make it. Their respiratory systems tend to be fairly fragile those first several weeks of life. So you can do everything right, and sometimes they just die, and illness can come about And we had 2 chickens that just started sneezing one day, and we tried to support their respiratory systems, and still they just didn't make it. And it was sad, but it happened. So going into it knowing that you are going to have losses kind of helps to prepare you for it mentally. I mean, you're still going to get attached to them because they're just so cute, and when you get good breeds, they're sweet. And so it's hard to not get it. You cannot eat my earrings. No, you can't have them. It's hard to not get attached to them, and you're going to get attached to them, but it's just part of owning chickens, is that they're not going to last forever. One way you can prevent illness and death with your chicks is to make sure that you are not overcrowding them. Just because a coop or a brooder says it can fit a certain amount of chicks or chickens doesn't mean you should shove it to the brim. If you have too many chickens in there, it will stress them out and they will be more susceptible to disease. And so they are more likely to get sick and have problems long term. So don't overcrowd them. Always go on the lower end of what you can fit into your coop. Our coop, like I said before, could fit upwards of I think it was sized to 25 to 30 birds, and I would never put more than probably 20 at the max, because we have our chickens free ranging in our backyard. I think that the most I am comfortable having in our area would be 20 at the very, very most. But at this point, we have 13 hens out, and we have 4 chicks in the brooder. The 5th thing that I have learned is brooder plate over heat lamp every time. If you don't know what a brooder plate is, it mimics the warmth of a mother hen. It's a little plate that the chicks can get up underneath, and they can warm their bodies that way. But my absolute favorite way of raising chicks is, if you have chickens currently, letting a mama hen raise them, because it is so much easier. And it's just the cutest thing watching them follow their mama around. But it's much more enjoyable. The only bad thing about letting a mama hen raise the chicks for you is that you can't go and pick up the chicks, because she will freak out and peck you. And it stresses her out. So that's the only downside of letting a mama hen raise them, is that you don't get the chick cuddles. And I say that letting a mama hen is my favorite way of raising chicks, but I currently have 4 chicks in the brooder right now because I wanted a certain breed. Okay, she's getting antsy-pantsy. I'm going to put her down. I wanted a certain breed, and my friend had some, and so I don't have broody hen, and so I'm like, I'm just going to get them and raise them myself. So here we are. So even though it's my favorite way, I still will end up raising chicks. Number 6, just because you get all hens does not mean it's going to be quiet. Chickens are loud, hens are loud, and they make all kinds of noises, which is another one of the things I didn't know about chickens, is that they make all kinds of different noises, not just a little clucking and not just crowing. They make some interesting noises. The egg song is always fun, especially when you have multiple chickens and you have 4 of them doing the egg song all at the same time because they see something in the nesting box. Dust bathing was also something I didn't know that chickens did. And I see one doing it right now. I'm not sure I'd be able to get her on camera. But that's how chickens get their feathers clean, is that they go and lay in dust and dirt and will kick up the dirt to clean their feathers. I guess I just assumed that they were like other birds, they preen themselves with their feathers and things like that. But the fact that they will just like a dog, just roll around in the dirt and kick up dirt to clean their feathers. The first time I saw them doing it, I'm like, what on earth is going on? Are they dying? Nope, they were just dust bathing. The next one is more of a tip than it is something that I learned. Making sure to have an emergency chicken kit on hand. In our emergency chicken kit, I keep some extra antibiotics. Because we've had chickens who when chickens get sick, they go downhill very, very quickly. And you may not have somebody local to you that has antibiotics that you may need with your chickens. And so having some antibiotics on hand, they're not super expensive. Just having them in a kit is helpful. You may never need them, but if you do need them, it's helpful to have them. I also keep a bottle of Vet RX, which is kind of like Vicks for chickens, some B12, and then some Nutri-Drench, which is a vitamin supplement. So anytime my chickens seem like they are sick or it's especially hot and I know that it's going to be harder on their bodies, I will put extra vitamins into their water, and I will watch for if any of them get the sniffles. I start, because chickens will get the sniffles, they sneeze and all of that, then I'll put the Vet RX on their beak and under their wings and on their wattles and combs. Okay, so the next thing I didn't know, chickens molt. I had never heard of molting. Maybe I had heard of molting, but I don't think, maybe I just forgot about it. But that they will lose all of their feathers once a year, and it was really weird the first time it happened. I only had one of my chickens molt this year because they normally don't start to molt until they're at least 18 months old, but one of them just molted early, I guess. And she looked really kind of funny, a little scary. But it was like 6 weeks and she lost the feathers in her neck and some along her feet because she's a feather-footed chicken. But then they all grew back and it was fine, but it was very strange. Which brings me to the next thing that I didn't know, is that chickens will stop laying eggs for various reasons. They stop laying eggs whenever they're molting. They stop laying eggs if they get really, really sick. If it's too cold, if it's really too hot, they will kind of slow down on egg production. When they go broody, whenever they want to have babies, they will stop laying for the entire time that they're broody and the entire time that they have babies. And so that there's various reasons why chickens just will stop laying eggs. So it's always good to have different ages and ranges in your flock so that you can consistently have eggs. The various chicken noises. This was something that I didn't realize, that they made all kinds of noises. So I already mentioned it once, but for your listening pleasure, here is a sampling of some various chicken noises. Roosters. So most of the time, roosters are just plain mean. They're really hard to tame. And if you have a good rooster, you're normally not going to get along with him very well because he's protecting the flock. And so he thinks he needs to protect his flock from you. I have heard that once they get past the teenager puberty type stage, that they're a little bit better. And we have yet to make it past that. We always end up sending them away. We intentionally got a rooster the first time and had problems with him. And then every other time we ended up with accidental roosters. And every time I'm like, let's just try and see if we can tame him. And every time he's turned mean. We currently have 2 chicks that are with mama right now, and they are both roosters. And so we are going to try to tame one of them. We're going to keep the one that seems like it's working the best. But I have already made peace with they probably won't end up staying if they turn mean, because roosters are just really hard to tame. Broody hens. So I didn't know that hens just went broody. I mean, I guess I assumed that they would have babies, but the whole process that they will go into their nesting box and not come out except to eat and drink and maybe get a dust bath every so often, but that's it. And they won't lay eggs, and you can't get them out of the nesting box unless you give them babies. I've heard of people, they'll like dunk them in water, or they'll put them in a crate with no bedding or anything on the bottom, because they say the goal is to get their bottom underside cooled down, so that way they will stop being broody. I haven't tried. I've only had one broody. No, I've had 2 broody hens. And then our broody hen last year, we gave her chicks, and she was one of the ones that she just didn't take very good care of herself, and she got sick. I learned when hens go broody, they don't take very good care of themselves. So you have to make sure to increase their vitamin intake and make sure they're getting out of the nesting box and eating and going, getting water. Otherwise, they will make themselves sick. So she passed away last year. And then I don't know if you can see her. She's currently back there. That's our other hen who went broody. And right before that big freeze we had, she went broody, and we gave her babies, and she's kept them alive and done very well with them. So we've just given them babies whenever they went broody. Breeds. So different chicken breeds have different personalities, different egg color, different egg size, and they lay a different amount of eggs each year. I didn't know there were so many things that are different about different breeds of chickens. So depending on, what color egg you want or how often you want eggs, or if you want a really sweet chicken or you want a really fun, quirky chicken or a chicken that's just going to stay away, there's different breeds that you can get, and they will all have the different personalities. My personal favorite are the sex links because they lay big eggs and they lay a lot of them, and they're pretty, but they are so funny. They have the best personalities. They're very curious. They'll let you hold them. They're really kid friendly, unless you let them get low on food, and then they will chase you and peck you to let you know they are low on food. You will almost always, unless you get sex linked chickens, you will almost always get a rooster. It just happens. You have to expect that you're going to get some surprise roosters mixed in there. Sex-linked chickens are easy to tell the difference because when they hatch, they have different coloration in their down. They also, some of them will have, I'm trying to remember the breed. I can't remember. I'll put it right here. They'll have a spot on their head, and the others, I think the males have a spot and the females don't. Things like that. That's how you can tell, but that's only for specific sex-linked chickens. So there are a lot of chickens that you just don't know, and you just have to kind of risk. So the chickens that we have in the brooder currently are frizzles and a turkin, and those are all barnyard mixes. And so we're just hoping that we get hens out of them. We'll see. But if you do get a rooster, the good thing is you can almost always get rid of them on Craigslist. You post them on Craigslist, and then within a day, I have always been able to get rid of the roosters. It's not that big of a deal. I don't ask questions on where they're going to and what's going to happen to them, because at that point, it's none of my business. And last but not least, if you're getting chickens because you think, oh, I get free eggs, you probably won't save any money. The cost to feed chickens is quite high. Even we buy local feed from our local feed store. It's made like 2 hours from here, and it's cheaper to do it that way. And even doing that, it is still, we spend probably $25 to $30 in feed every month. Now, I do offset majority of their cost by selling the eggs. I sell people to friends and family, to people at my church. And so I will sell their eggs, and I don't make any money off of my chickens. My chickens just pay for their own feed. So you may save money if you sell your eggs, but if you're just thinking you're going to get chickens and then you're going to end up having free eggs, you have to keep in mind you do have to pay to feed these chickens. So that is pretty much everything that I have learned in this first year of having chickens. It has been awesome and sometimes heart-wrenching. I think the first couple of months I had these thoughts of, what did I get myself into? Maybe this was a huge mistake. But once we got past this time whenever it seemed like my chickens kept getting sick or something was wrong, and we figured out what all we were doing wrong, and we figured out how to do it right, it became a very enjoyable experience, and I love having chickens now. If you have any questions that I maybe didn't answer and you want to ask them, please feel free to leave it in the comments. You never know who may have the same question as you, and I always like to try to help where I can. If you like this video, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I do a lot of homemaking and homeschooling and things like that kind of content on my channel, and I would love to have you stick around. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and until next time.